minutes till broadcast. One minute till broadcast. Seconds till broadcast. Five, four, three, two, one. Begin transmission.
Fighting for freedom every day.
Let me tell you, the response to the show has been absolutely amazing. People can't believe that a young conservative millennial continues to fight for constitutional principles, traditional values, and talks about issues that some are even afraid to talk about. But we do it because we understand the importance of this. And now we're seeing it absolutely blow up all across the nation.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Yeah, buddy. Hey, welcome into the Voice of Reason. It's the day you've been waiting for. It is a Friday. You get to celebrate that Free for All Friday here on the Voice of Reason, broadcasting live out of the heart of the nation here on the flagship station of the Big Talker KQAM in Wichita, Kansas, all over the radio, TV, live streaming, no matter where you may be. Facebook Live is back up and working. We finally got that going. Appreciate it. It's only been like 2-3 days of not having that. So we had the Facebook Live, the YouTube Live, Twitter, Twitch, LinkedIn, on the website at HooserReason.com. No matter where you may be, we appreciate you very, very much, and welcome to the end of the week. You finally made it to the end of the tunnel. And wow, I'm exhausted. Can we just admit I'm a little exhausted after the Republican National Convention all week this week? Coming up at the bottom of the hour, we're going to talk with Liz Harrington. She is the RNC national spokesperson, talking about the National Republican Convention, what happened, the good stuff, the bad stuff, our thoughts on it. It's a long interview, so we'll play as much of that as we possibly can, and looking forward to getting your thoughts on what you thought was the best speech of the RNC and what you took away from that one. I love Drudge Report right now because, down 25% from 2016 with Trump's speech. Oh, look at that. Biden's bigger TV audience than what Donald Trump was. You want to know why his was bigger? Because we want to see how many gaffes he's going to have, because he can't speak for more than 5 words without stuttering all over the place and forgetting what he's saying.
Come on, man.
That's what I'm saying. So it was more for entertainment value than it was actually for the content of what Joe Biden. What are we going to learn from Joe Biden? He's been in office for how many years now? 47 years? Oh, that's right. You can tell me that to listen to him, to listen to his policy issues. Give me a break. So we'll get to that here and much more in just a little bit. But I want to shift gears for just a minute, shall we? One thing that I think is going to be on the ballot, or at least driving people to the polls come November, are some policy issues, including how the economy is going to look, how taxes are going to look. And as you can see, many states right now looking at tax revenue dropping because of COVID-19, because of the economic shutdown and people not working, and tax revenue because people aren't buying things, and consumer spending slowly going back up, but not where it was before by any way, shape, or form. How are governments going to operate? Now, normal circumstances, they would be like, gee, let's just cut some spending. That's a joke, right? That's all right. That's a joke because they don't cut spending. They're just like, we need to find new tax revenue. So, how are states doing that? What are they going to try and consolidate? What are they going to do for tax revenue? And some states, of course, are doing the all-out, let's just raise taxes on you while you financially struggle. But California's taken it to a new level. And this would be the first in the nation, really, with how they're looking at doing it, as they're looking at a wealth tax. The first ever ultra-rich getting taxed above and beyond the wealth tax. Why? How much money would it bring in, and would this be the end of many in California? And we got a lot of listeners in California. We got a lot of podcast downloads. We don't have any stations there yet, but we have a lot of podcast downloads in California. You guys, I feel so bad for you in California. And if this wealth tax comes into play, the ultra-rich, quote-unquote, which I love that arbitrary line of the rich and the ultra-rich. I don't know where that line's drawn. Barack Obama said the rich was like $120,000 or more a year. So if you make $100,000, even though you may live in a city like San Francisco where it's terrible there with real estate or the cost of living, you would still be considered rich, and you would have an ultra-rich tax put on place potentially with you. So to talk about some of that and more, he is the CEO of Engineered Tax Services out of the state of California. We're excited to have on the program with us here. You've seen him all over Fox News as well. It's Julio Gonzalez hanging out with us here. Julio, how are you, my friend?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, and I appreciate all you do.
Hey, well, I appreciate you coming on very much. It's an honor to talk to you. This is crazy. The wealth tax, especially right now during COVID, when a lot of people are not working, when we're seeing the economy tank. I mean, the good news is today we just saw the stock market, at least the Dow Jones, hit back up to where it was before the pandemic, which is good news because that rebounded relatively nicely. But a wealth tax, really? Is this what we're looking at in California?
Like you said, the first in the nation, and I think it will be mass exodus for any billionaire left there. You know, they can move, they can easily find places to go, and they won't stay.
Wow. Now, have they defined what the wealth tax actually is and who's going to be considered the ultra-rich in this wealth tax?
Well, the wealth tax that they're proposing basically adds up all the assets, and anyone in the millions will start to pay taxes. They'll levy that, and basically those assets can be in California or they can be anywhere in this world. And they suspect that they can raise $8 billion. In fact, the governor said that we can do this tax because it's California and people want to be here. But I think he's dead wrong, and we've seen Bezos leave and take his companies out, and you know, everyone's mass exiting the CEOs, and those people can decide where they want to be, and they're going to Texas, they're going to Florida, they're going to other places.
Well, they've been doing that for a long time. I just came from Colorado, where I originally kind of grew up, and that's been overrun by Californians, turning that state as blue as you possibly can get. Arizona's been doing the same thing as you mentioned. Texas is next as they're mass exiting out there. The problem is that when they move, then they end up taking their voting ideas with them, and they end up turning the states they turn into blue as well, don't they?
Yeah, they certainly try, but I think people are starting to realize that, you know, the ultra tax in California raised 42 taxes already this year. Now they're getting set to raise the property taxes 200%. And I think people realize that they can not afford it. I mean, when you're a citizen, when you're in business, the government's your partner, but when you're given 50, 60, 70% of your income away to that partnership, which is California, you can't survive.
Yeah, no doubt. Now, as you mentioned, they would raise between $7.5 to $8 billion in general revenue funds because of this wealth tax. What have they said what it would go towards? I mean, they have, obviously, in California, one of the largest environmental protection agencies at a statewide level. They've talked about giving more social programs to illegal aliens and making the sanctuary cities in certain parts of the state. Is that what it would go towards? Would it go towards maybe relief from COVID or relief from wildfires? I mean, what do they want to do with this money?
Well, I mean, they have the biggest deficit in the country, you know, first over New York, and they have to figure out ways. That's why they raised 42 taxes. They created outdoor dining tax. They increased taxes to go play golf there now, and, you know, it's just not stopping, and they can't get this deficit closed. And, you know, when we did tax reform of the federal government, right, we lowered the tax rates, but more money was going to the IRS, more money was going to Treasury because the money was working its way around the system, more people were working, more people were contributing.
Right.
And to think that the opposite would work, that we'd raise the taxes, people would stay and pay those, it's just not going to work.
It's really not going to work. We're talking with Julio Gonzalez, CEO of Engineered Tax Services. Also, as you mentioned, you were able to help advise some of the 2017 Tax Cuts and Job Act at the federal level, working on that. The difference between what we're seeing at the federal level with Trump tax cuts, with the economy boosting up, things doing well, and then California going this opposite direction. Wouldn't this be the prime example, you would think, of maybe like the social experiment gone wrong, to where they try and tax people, and now we see the homeless that are going rampant in California? You have to download the Poop app in order to walk around San Francisco to make sure you don't go to the proper areas there. I mean, wouldn't this be the all telltale sign that maybe their policies aren't quite working the way they want?
That's exactly right, because, whether you're a nation and you're competing with other countries, or you're a state competing with other states, Florida, Texas, Wyoming, all these other states, Nevada, lower taxes, and people and businesses are going there, right? Because it doesn't work when you raise the higher taxes, because the people that pay the taxes, taxes is a wealth transfer from people that pay it to people that don't. And this is what we're seeing in California, is that transfer is getting significant because the people that don't pay taxes is getting larger and larger, right? It's just not a system that's working.
Sure. Now, you mentioned before, when they were talking about creating this legislation, you had said that they would be able to tax even assets that are overseas and out of the state. How are they able to do that? Because from my understanding, at least, is that if you have the assets overseas, that's the reason, is because you don't want that taxed and you don't want that to actually be touched by the federal government. So for the state government to come in and say, well, you may have a little bit of assets here, but you got a whole lot of stuff overseas, and we're going to have the right to be able to come and take that. How can they do that?
Yeah, it's not even constitutional, but that's the avenue they're going down, and they're saying that that's the benefit of the sunshine tax and living in California.
Wow. Unbelievable. Now, are they? I'm sure that they are. Have you heard about any other type of regulations environmentally? I love the ones where they talked about the smell tax, or the smell regulations if you're barbecuing in your backyard and someone complains about the odor violations because they don't want to smell the meat because they're maybe vegan, and that's some type of environmental tax. Are they working on other types of taxes, punishments, regulations in that sense as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's all the they're raising the taxes on gasoline. They passed that already. Sales tax is going up. Alcohol tax is going up. Fuel tax, and the cigarette taxes, and the wealthy taxes, and the outdoor dining tax, the outdoor smell tax, right? It's across the board. The golf tax. I mean, they're going to get up to over 50 new taxes by the end of this month. And then we go into September, October, November, where they're going to raise the property taxes, do the wealth tax, and who stays?
Wow. And you would think at some point there would be a line, right? There would be a line where people are just saying, I don't want to do this anymore. I can't deal anymore. And some are obviously hitting that line as they leave the state. But at what point is there a breaking point for that state that says, no, you cannot do this any longer. We're not going to tolerate this anymore. And either you change it or we're all out and we're all done.
I think, November will be the telltale sign. I think if these two passes, the 200% increase the property tax, the ultra wealth tax, I think that ultimately all the people that in the millionaire plus range will live. I don't think anyone will stay. I think we've talked to everyone in that market, and they've all told the CPA and tax community that they're leaving. And they're all planning, and they're already planning that exit currently.
Mm-hmm. Do you think this is going to be a big issue on the ballot? I mean, as people go to the voting booth, especially in California, if they're frustrated, if they're angry, is this going to maybe change the outlook of maybe the elected officials and elected leaders in the state when it comes to some state legislators, when it comes to their congressional representation? Do you see maybe a shift in the state of California a little bit back to the other side?
Well, I don't see it prior to November. I think these are locked to pass, and I think that ultimately, when you see these people leave and the tax deficit getting larger and larger, and that this plan of raising the property taxes, the business taxes, the wealth tax, and the deficit continues to grow because these people leave, I think then ultimately you'll start to see the shift.
That would be nice. I'd love to see a pendulum swing just a little bit. I mean, they've gone so far to the deep end on California, and not all the state of California. Obviously, there's many pockets of some great conservative areas, but those big cities that really run things have destroyed a lot of that area. It's Julio Gonzalez, CEO of Engineered Tax Services. We appreciate the time, my friend. We're out of time, but we got to get you back on the show again here real soon and keep us posted on these wealth taxes that are going on in California. We appreciate it very much.
My pleasure.
Hey, absolutely. All right, we got to take a break. When we come back, we're going to shift gears a little bit, get your thoughts on the wealth tax. Can you believe that? Wealth tax in California. It's not surprising, but there it is. This is what they do each and every day. At some point, we're going to be numb to the things they try and do in California as well and just say, like, I'm really not surprised. Really not surprised. How long until companies say, I'm not going to be in the state any longer? Elon Musk already did it. He moved to, what, Texas? Did he? Nevada? Someplace? I don't remember. But left California. He's out, baby. When we come back, we'll talk about your thoughts on the Republican National Convention as it wrapped up yesterday, your favorite speeches. We'd love to hear from you in some of the comments with social media and more. It's a Friday here on The Voice of Reason. Stay tuned.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Hey, it's Andy Hooser with The Voice of Reason. Fighting for conservative principles seems more difficult all the time. The progressive left seems to find new and creative ways to limit freedom, abuse power, and trample the Constitution each and every day. That's why we need the knowledge, resources, and common sense to push back, and we can help with that. Visit our website at HooserReason.com. There's some really great stuff for you. You can read the latest blog discussing topical issues and current events. Let us know your thoughts by filling out our monthly survey. Keep track of what I might be doing or where I may be speaking. Listen to the podcast of your favorite guest or show, and check out our latest Voice of Reason product infomercials. Plus, you can find upcoming show schedules and guest lineups to plan your radio listening appropriately. And finally, make sure to become a Hoosier-holic by subscribing to the free newsletter. Stay up to date on the latest news of the show, fun facts of the month, and learn new ways to defend and preserve this great republic. It's all there at HooserReason.com. Again, HooserReason.com. Go check it out. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do. Hey, it's Andy Hooser. Want to reach out to the show? A big part of the program is you, and we want to hear from you. Let us know your thoughts of the show, maybe a guest we've had on the program, or my favorite, when you disagree with something that I talk about. You can email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com or send us a message through our website at HooserReason.com. The show's not about me, it's about you. So be heard and be your own voice of reason. Again, email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com or find our contact information at HooserReason.com. Miss part of the show? Don't worry about it. There's plenty of ways to catch the program, and here's how you can do it. First, make sure to tune in every day right here on your favorite radio station. We're here for you. Second, subscribe to the podcast on any of your favorite sites. YouTube and iTunes, Spotify and Google Play, TuneIn, Podbean, and more. Have the show automatically downloaded to your favorite device. Last, visit our website at HooserReason.com. You can listen to the podcast, catch our special features, and more. It's the Voice of Reason on radio, TV, and online, helping you defend and preserve this great republic. Hey, it's Andy Hooser with The Voice of Reason. The show's growing all the time, and as we talk about the big issues of the day, one of the big parts of the program is you. And I want you to join us on the program. Whether you agree, disagree, or just want to relieve some of that political frustration, we're here for you. No matter where you may be watching, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, go ahead and leave a comment on the live stream. Chat with other listeners and let me know your thoughts on the topic. Also chat with us on the Podbean chat room. Just go to our live stream of the show at podbean.com and chat with other listeners. You can also call into the program. Just download the Podbean app onto your smartphone, join the live stream, and call in through the app. This is your show, and we want to hear your thoughts. So go ahead and join us here on The Voice of Reason and the Hooser Media Network. Hey, miss a show? Don't worry about it. You have plenty of opportunities to watch, listen, learn, and be entertained with The Voice of Reason anytime you want. And here's how you can do it. First, become a Hoosier-holic by going to HooserReason.com and signing up for the show newsletter to get the latest on the show, upcoming guests, topical discussions, and more. Next, subscribe to the podcast and have the show automatically downloaded to any platform you like to use. You can subscribe to any of your favorite platforms with iTunes and Spotify, Google Play and TuneIn, or you can also go and subscribe directly to our Podbean website. Last, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com, search Hooser Reason, and subscribe to watch all of our shows, videos, and get notified whenever we're live. All the links and info are at HooserReason.com. For a schedule of upcoming guests on the program, daily show topics, or to reach out to the Hooser Media Network, visit us on the website at HooserReason.com. Or for general inquiries, to be a guest on the program, or to have Andy a guest on your program, email us at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. Keep fighting for freedom with us every day right here on the Voice of Reason and the Hooser Media Network. Now, back to the show.
You're listening to the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Welcome back into it. Great to have you today on a Friday. Radio, TV, live streaming, podcasting, no matter where you may be. Thanks for hanging out, trying to cram that 10 pounds of reason into that 5-pound bag, trying to rebrand the millennial generation one radio listener at a time. Thanks again to Julio Gonzalez coming on the program. We do appreciate that very much. And the wealth tax in California. Gee, I wonder why people are leaving that state all the time. And nothing against our friends in California. I personally only know like maybe one or people that I've never even met in person, but just people that I know that we've had on the show and acquaintances I know in California. But we get a lot of downloads, a lot of listeners in California. So thank you for that. We appreciate that very much. And if you live in California, I want to hear from you. Email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. At what point, what is your breaking point for you to say, I cannot live in this state anymore? Obviously, most people maybe not live in the big cities there, because that would be ridiculously crazy to live in those big cities and try and deal with all that stuff. But if you live outside of it, but you're still impacted by what the governor's doing, by what the state legislature's doing, then let us know. Let us know your thoughts on From the Inside, From Behind Enemy Lines. Because I'm curious on how it would be to actually live in the state of California. It doesn't make any sense to me. I have a hard enough time with a big city like Wichita. Just saying. And I would have a really hard time in a big city like that where you have to download the poop app. I'm serious. It's what you have to do. I'd be scared to walk around because I wouldn't want to step in things. It's almost like walking through a cow field or a barn and being like, oh, man. But you're prepared for it then because you know what's going to happen. Not walking down the street in your dress shoes and be like, oh, man. It's a little bit different, isn't it? So, Republican National Convention. 4 nights of epicness. Your thoughts? According to the Judge Report, they didn't like it. Biden bigger TV audience. Trump's speech down 25% from 2016. Noon and the GOP tries to make its case. They try. They're desperate. They did everything they could to reach out and try to appeal to certain voters. It just didn't work very much. I didn't get that. Now, they tried to say that they brought on the Uncle Toms, they brought on the token black people or the token Hispanic or the token minorities or whatever they try to say, because apparently the Republicans are evil racist jerks and Donald Trump's an evil racist jerk. All this stupid stuff. I'm not in the mood for it anymore. I'm not. And if they only did it for one day, you'd be like, all right, yeah, that's all they got. But it was literally all 4 nights of the convention. All 4 nights. That's all they focused on. Was success of minorities, was success under Donald Trump, was policies that made this country better. All 4 nights, every speaker, they talked about what Trump did, what the Republican Party has done, and where we're going for the next 4 years if we continue to have leadership and continue under his leadership and continue with Republican majorities, what we can possibly do. Donald Trump did the naturalization live, which was absolutely fantastic. I have to admit, I've never actually heard Ivanka Trump sit and do a speech. I've heard her comment on things, but never actually do a legit speech. It was phenomenal last night. Epic. She did amazing. Donald Trump's speech was long, but there's nothing wrong with that. He was proving a point. Number one, he did it live. Epic. Joe Biden couldn't do that. Joe Biden spoke for like 20 minutes, 22 minutes, and that's about all he had. That's about all he could probably remember. See? That's another joke, see, for those with dementia. Or Joe Biden with dementia. He couldn't speak a whole lot. And for a guy who had a record of 47 plus years, he could only speak for 20 minutes. Donald Trump spoke for well over an hour about everything he's done in 4 years. The only guy that's actually been able to do certain things, and he did it in his first term. Amazing. And I have to admit, one of my favorite speeches, at least yesterday, was Dana White with the UFC. Phenomenal. That's why I love Dana White with the UFC. That's why I enjoy the UFC, because he brings the excitement, he brings the intensity, and he wasn't taking any smack, which is what he did last night during his speech. If you didn't watch that one, highly recommend that as well. But I think overall it was fantastic. When we come back, we're going to play an interview with Liz Harrington. We sat down with her just a couple hours ago and talked to her as she is the national spokesperson for the RNC. We'll get her thoughts on how the Republican convention went from the Republican National Committee and what it's like going forward. So we'll do that when we come back here on The Voice of Reason. Stay tuned.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Hey, it's Andy Hooser. While you listen to the delightful broadcast of The Voice of Reason, don't forget to check us out and follow us on all of our social media sites. Whether you're using Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Minds.com, or Instagram, we're there for you. Find us at Hooser Reason on any of your social media platforms. You'll see special commentary, links to the articles and news that we use on the show, and videos of the broadcast. Plus, you can directly send us a message on social media during the show to let me know your thoughts. Many already do, and it's a great chat room for all of our great listeners. And you can always sign up for the Patreon site to get exclusive content, maybe hear show products before we air them on the radio, and a lot more. And when you support us on Patreon, you also help the show be able to fight for conservative values each and every day. So it's a win-win. Just find us at Hooser Reason on all of your social media platforms, or you can find a link to all of our social media sites on our website at HooserReason.com. We know you're on social media already, so bring some reason into your day. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do.
The Hooser Media Network is way more than just the voice of reason. It's your source to find numerous different online talk shows, podcasts, TV, and radio programs, all in one simple online location for you. From political talk to health talk to whatever you may be interested in, we're here for you. And I tell you, it's growing every day. Catch Tracy Maxfield with her podcast Engage, Educate, and Empower, discussing mental health issues in children and teenagers. From bullying, teenage suicide, addiction, ADHD, and so much more, learn from Tracy and her guests about symptoms, signs, and ways to talk to your children, plus so much more. Having battled depression, being the author of the internationally acclaimed book Escaping the Rabbit Hole, and being a retired nurse, Tracy is kind of the go-to on the subject. Make sure to find her on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, along with her website at tracymaxfield.com. Also, make sure to tune into the weekly podcast Jump, Pivot, and Roll with Shannon Stiles and Rachel Murphy. Taking that next big leap of faith is hard. Trying to write a book, maybe struggling with a relationship, looking to take that next big career step. What's stopping you? There's a lot of big questions there, and they're questions that Rachel and Shannon want to help with you each and every week. It's Jump, Pivot, and Roll on any of your favorite podcasting sites and on Facebook and YouTube. All of these shows and a heck of a lot more can be found on the Hooser Media Network Facebook and YouTube channels. Make sure to follow and subscribe to check them out today. Follow all the shows, and if you have any inquiries, check us out at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. Hey, miss a show? Don't worry about it. You have plenty of opportunities to watch, listen, learn, and be entertained with The Voice of Reason anytime you want. And here's how you can do it. First, become a Hooserholic by going to HooserReason.com and signing up for the show newsletter to get the latest on the show, upcoming guests, topical discussions, and more. Next, subscribe to the podcast and have the show automatically downloaded to any platform you like to use. You can subscribe through any of your favorite platforms with iTunes and Spotify, Google Play and TuneIn, or you can also go and subscribe directly to our Podbean website. Last, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com, search Hooser Reason, and subscribe to watch all of our shows, videos, and get notified whenever we're live. All the links and info are at HooserReason.com. Oh, hi. You know, conservative messages now are more important than ever before. Election season, state legislative issues, and a rise in the radical left socialist progressive agenda. What we really need now more than ever before is knowledge and wisdom. That's where we come in. Hi, I'm Andy Hooser with The Voice of Reason. And I'm your voice for reasonable talk, conservative commentary, great guests and entertainment on radio, TV, and the internet. It's time to bring some common sense back into the discussion. National issues, state legislative issues, no matter where you may be, upcoming elections, and a heck of a lot more, we can bring traditional values, constitutional principles, and local activism back. And here's what you can do. First, follow us on all the social media platforms at Hooser Reason. You can watch the live stream of the show, leave comments, and even call into the program. Second, make sure to subscribe to the podcast on all of your audio devices, from iTunes and Spotify to Google Play and TuneIn. Make sure to subscribe to have every episode automatically downloaded so you don't miss a single episode. Third, make sure to visit our website at HooserReason.com. You can catch our monthly blog talking about deeper discussions, see who's coming on the program, plus you can sign up for our free monthly newsletter to catch the latest on the show, monthly topics, upcoming interviews, and more. It's time to be that local activist again. That's what the Voice of Reason's all about. Why? Because that's kind of the reasonable thing to do. And it's time for you to speak up, speak out, speak loud, speak proud, speak the truth, and always speak some reason.
Hey, it's Andy Hooser with the Voice of Reason. The show's growing all the time, and as we talk about the big issues of the day, one of the big parts of the program is you. And I want you to join us on the program. Whether you agree, disagree, or just want to relieve some of that political frustration, we're here for you. No matter where you may be watching, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, go ahead and leave a comment on the live stream. Chat with other listeners and let me know your thoughts on the topic. Also chat with us on the Podbean chat room. Just go to our live stream of the show at podbean.com and chat with other listeners. You can also call into the program. Just download the Podbean app onto your smartphone, join the live stream, and call in through the app. This is your show, and we want to hear your thoughts. So go ahead and join us here on the Voice of Reason and the Hooser Media Network.
When Reason Meets Radio. You're listening to the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Welcome back to it. Great to have you today on a Friday, wrapping up your week. I know you're excited. I'm excited for sure. It's been a heck of a week. I'm exhausted after the excitement from the Republican National Committee or convention, other things going on as well. It's been a long week. I'm happy though, but it's been a long week. Thanks for hanging out no matter where you be. Hey, Joe Biden, how you doing, buddy? How you doing? Haven't talked to you in a while.
I want to be clear. I'm not going nuts.
All right. Just making sure. Making sure. We heard about Kamala yesterday. Didn't hear from you, so figured better check in, right? Are you sure you're doing okay?
Come on, man. Get a life.
All right. We're going to have fun with this for the next few months. So we sat down with Liz Harrington, spokesperson for the Republican National Committee. If you remember, during the last few months before we came back to our flagship station here, we had her on going into the beginning of the primary season, the beginning of the Democrat primary season, and how things were looking then. We sat down with her earlier today to talk. Now, it's a longer interview, and it's longer than we have during this segment of the show. So we're going to play it in the last two segments of the show and kind of stop it and go to break and then come back and resume it. I know it's a little weird, and I usually don't like to do that, but it's really great information, and I don't want you to miss any of it. So this is Liz Harrington, the spokesperson for the Republican National Committee, recapping the RNC convention that we've seen over this last week. Liz Harrington hanging out with us here. Liz, how are you, my friend?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I am doing great. It's good to talk to you again. What a week you guys had with this Republican National Convention. I don't remember the last time. I mean, I love going to political conventions, but I don't remember the last time I was inspired and energized and pumped up as much as I was watching this entire week of festivities. What's your thoughts on how everything went?
It couldn't have gone better. And you know why? Because we focused on what matters, which is our country, our freedoms, our values, and we laid it all out there. You know, we want an open debate. Those people that met us outside the White House last night, Nancy Pelosi and the rest, they don't believe in open debate. They don't believe in free thought. We laid it on the line. We showed what our country truly is, what we actually stand for, who we are as a people. We're not what they say we are. We're not this awful, intolerant, unaccepting people. We showed, I think most importantly, the real Americans who have benefited and are grateful for living under the greatest nation on earth. And their stories from all walks of life, from all places around the world. When you have someone like Maximo Alvarez speaking on the first night, and then Chen Guangchen talking another night. And, of course, all the amazing Americans from all different backgrounds, maybe it doesn't look like they'd have much in common, but we all had one thing in common. We love our country, and And I just was so pleased with that. Our message was able to get across by using real Americans, just speaking from the heart. And that's really what it was all about. This is a big deal. This is a big election.
Yeah.
It's really all on the line. There's no going back if you tear it all down and talk about just ripping up the Constitution, which is what Biden and Harris are talking about, whether it's the Second Amendment, whether it's the First Amendment, whether it's getting rid of the filibuster and packing the Supreme Court. These people are after power, and we will lose our freedoms if we throw it away and don't reelect this president. And I was just so pleased to show the true character of our nation, how we're actually proud of our president at the top of the ticket and proud of all he's accomplished. It's amazing last night, in such a brilliant speech. It was the longest in modern history for an acceptance speech at a convention. You know why? Because in such a short amount of time in Washington, no one has accomplished more. And he went through all of that he's achieved, but he also laid out the agenda going forward. Democrats couldn't do that. Joe Biden, for having spent 47 years in Washington, only spoke for 22 minutes. Why? Because he's never accomplished anything for us. He's never accomplished anything for Americans. His family did pretty well, but what about the country? And they can't talk about their agenda either. Why? Because it's playing out in the streets. It's playing out when we left the White House last night and were attacked just viciously. There's so much hate and anger. That's his supporters. That's his vision. And they won't denounce it because they're too afraid to acknowledge what's really the driving force behind the Democrat Party now. And it's a lot of hate, and it's a lot of hate for this country. Well, we're going to defend it. We're going to speak out, whether it's Nicholas Sandmann, whether it's Officer Hullitz, who saved baby Hope in Albuquerque and has gotten her mother back out of homelessness and getting her life turned around from substance abuse. You know, he said Americans don't want to defund the police. We support law enforcement. But the silent majority is going to have to start speaking out. And I think all the brave voices that spoke at our convention this week are giving more Americans the courage to speak out for what's right and what's true, that America is great and it's worth defending.
Amen to that. You're absolutely right all across the board. And what I loved about it was it reminded me of the 1984 reelection of Ronald Reagan. It wasn't, I mean, he took shots at Joe Biden and the Democrats. And the reason, by the way, Joe Biden couldn't speak more than 22 minutes is because he wouldn't remember a script past 22 minutes. So there is that part of it as well.
Why.
That's right. That's right. But I mean, the Ronald Reagan reelection back then was so positive. If look at what we've done, look at the American country that we have, look at the great opportunities that we all have. And he won in a landslide because of such a positive campaign of the things that he's done and can continue to do. This entire, not just Trump's speech last night, but the entire Republican convention, I think was all these different people, like you mentioned, just average Americans, minority people, the fact that we've reaching out. And I think the Republicans having an opportunity to reach to certain demographics and communities that we've had a really hard time at times being able to reach out and reach out for Republican values, conservative values, and make them understand what we're about. We did that. You guys did that over the last 4 days, and I think it's going to resonate so much going into the election.
And it really is that mentality that President Trump brings. It's this can-do spirit. It's nothing together is impossible for this great country when we follow through on what our values are. And for so many years, Republicans have neglected and just written off the cities and neglected different various groups because they say, well, what's the point? Why waste time? No, these are all Americans. Yeah. And we care deeply about every American. We want everyone the opportunity to succeed. And so President Trump, when he said in 2016, he meant it. What do you have to lose? And we saw we all have so much to gain because he built the greatest economy on earth. We were at practically full employment. Wages and competition were sky high, personal confidence. People were winning. Everyone was winning. And no pandemic from communist China, no artificial shutdown of our economy is going to take that away. In fact, because of going in and having to artificially shut it off. Look at how it's going to come back already, this super V-shaped recovery, because we know going in, the fundamentals were so strong, and that opportunity is there. And we're going to expand that opportunity. School choice, such a huge issue that so many speakers talked so passionately about, because this is what we believe. This is the great equalizer.
Yeah.
Just give Americans a shot. Give them the personal agency, the parents, the choice to decide where to send their kids to school. It's just, we are the party of freedom and opportunity for everyone. And that kind of spirit, that winning, that passion for the country really makes us confident to say, yeah, why can't we compete? Why can't we put it all on the line, show what we stand for, and win the argument? We know we can win the debate. All we need is the opportunity. Stop smearing us, stop taking us out of context, stop with the relentless smear machine campaigns. We got a chance this week to show the true character, not only of this country, but also this president.
Yeah.
And so many people spoke to just who the man really is.
Well, exactly.
And he deeply cares about this country, and it's proven. What did Ivanka say last night? You might not always like the tweets, but the results speak for themselves.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. And I know that the left and the Democrats and the media went after the RNC convention just for the fact that we brought so many minorities and that they were just the tokens and we're just trying to counter for what Trump being an evil racist, yada, yada. But 4 days of it, including Democrats, by the way, with like Vernon Jones, a state representative from Georgia, coming out and saying, wait a second, he's done more for prison reform. He's done more for inner city communities. We've done more for the unemployment, more for job growth, more for these communities than anything else as Americans across the board. I mean, 4 days of that entire focus, I think, really drove it in that, you know what, there's not tokens. They're not just examples. This is the American system that Donald Trump was focused on, and I think we really made that point strong.
Exactly, and it's time for us to take our history back.
Yes.
Like Clarence Henderson said, a civil rights icon, he said, you don't know your history then. Republicans, we're the party of emancipation. We're the party of Lincoln. We're the party of civil rights. It was Democrats who were blocking the Civil Rights Act. And so it's an insidious lie, this idea that we're, this intolerant party. Absolutely not. And there's nothing more American than thinking for yourself.
Yeah.
And that was one of the themes night after night, and so many of the speeches touched on it, was this intolerant left that wants to censor you for wrong think. It wants to cancel you for wearing a MAGA hat. It wants to just run you out of the public square. That is so anti-American. We want to have open debate and let people think for themselves. And there are so many passionate voices speaking about this. And what Daniel Cameron, first black attorney general elected statewide in Kentucky, he said, Joe.
All right, that's Liz Harrington. We're going to have to stop that one there because we're out of time on that one. We may play some more of that when we come back here. If not, we'll just kind of recap and go into the weekend. We got lots more coming up on The Voice of Reason. Stay here on a Friday.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Hey, it's Andy Hooser. While you listen to the delightful broadcast of The Voice of Reason, don't forget to check us out and follow us on all of our social media sites. Whether you're using Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Minds.com, or Instagram, we're there for you. Find us at Hooser Reason on any of your social media platforms. You'll see special commentary, links to the articles and news that we use on the show, and videos of the broadcast. Plus, you can directly send us a message on social media during the show to let me know your thoughts. Many already do, and it's a great chat room for all of our great listeners. And you can always sign up for the Patreon site to get exclusive content, maybe hear show products before we air them on the radio, and a lot more. And when you support us on Patreon, you also help the show be able to fight for conservative values each and every day. So it's a win-win. Just find us at Hooser Reason on all of your social media platforms, or you can find a link to all of our social media sites on our website at HooserReason.com. We know you're on social media already, so bring some reason into your day. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do. Miss part of the show? Don't worry about it. There's plenty of ways to catch the program, and here's how you can do it. First, make sure to tune in every day right here on your favorite radio station. We're here for you. Second, subscribe to the podcast on any of your favorite sites. YouTube and iTunes, Spotify and Google Play, TuneIn, Podbean, and more. Have the show automatically downloaded to your favorite device. Last, visit our website at HooserReason.com. You can listen to the podcast, catch our special features, and more. It's the Voice of Reason on radio, TV, and online, helping you defend and preserve this great republic. Hey, it's Andy Hooser. Want to reach out to the show? A big part of the program is you, and we want to hear from you. Let us know your thoughts of the show, maybe a guest we've had on the program, or my favorite, when you disagree with something that I talk about. You can email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com or send us a message through our website at HooserReason.com. The show's not about me, it's about you. So be heard and be your own voice of reason. Again, email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com or find our contact information at HooserReason.com.
Oh, hi. You know, conservative messages now are more important than ever before. Election season, state legislative issues, and a rise in the radical left socialist progressive agenda. What we really need now more than ever before is knowledge and wisdom. That's where we come in. Hi, I'm Andy Hooser with the Voice of Reason, and I'm your voice for reasonable talk, conservative commentary, great guests and entertainment on radio, TV, and the internet. It's time to bring some common sense back into the discussion. National issues, state legislative issues, no matter where you may be, upcoming elections, and a heck of a lot more, we can bring traditional values, constitutional principles, and local activism back. And here's what you can do. First, follow us on all the social media platforms at Hooser Reason. You can watch the live stream of the show, leave comments, and even call into the program. Second, make sure to subscribe to the podcast on all of your audio devices, from iTunes and Spotify to Google Play and TuneIn. Make sure to subscribe to have every episode automatically downloaded so you don't miss a single episode. Third, make sure to visit our website at HooserReason.com. You can catch our monthly blog talking about deeper discussions, see who's coming on the program, plus you can sign up for our free monthly newsletter to catch the latest on the show, monthly topics, upcoming interviews, and more. It's time to be that local activist again. That's what the Voice of Reason's all about. Why? Because that's kind of the reasonable thing to do. And it's time for you to speak up, speak out, speak loud, speak proud, speak the truth, and always speak some reason. Hey, miss a show? Don't worry about it. You have plenty of opportunities to watch, listen, learn, and be entertained with the Voice of Reason anytime you want. And here's how you can do it. First, become a Hooserholic by going to HooserReason.com and signing up for the show newsletter to get the latest on the show, upcoming guests, topical discussions, and more. Next, subscribe to the podcast and have the show automatically downloaded to any platform you like to use. You can subscribe through any of your favorite platforms with iTunes and Spotify, Google Play and TuneIn, or you can also go and subscribe directly to our Podbean website. Last, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com, search Hooser Reason, and subscribe to watch all of our shows, videos, and get notified whenever we're live. All the links and info are at HooserReason.com. Hey, I hope you're enjoying the program today. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on any of your favorite podcasting sites and have the show automatically downloaded to your phone or computer every single day. Just find us on any podcasting site or go to HooserReason.podbean.com. And be sure to check out our Patreon site, become the ultimate Hooserholic, and help us fight for conservative values every day. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do. Now back to the national broadcast of the Voice of Reason.
You're listening to the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Welcome back into the Voice of Reason. Wrapping up the program today. It goes by so fast. We appreciate you hanging out with us today, no matter where you may be. Radio, TV, live streaming, podcasting, doesn't really matter. But we thank you for it each and every day. So I realized that even if we tried to play more of the interview right now, we still wouldn't have enough time to finish it. So we're not going to play any more on the air. However, if you want to listen to the rest of the interview, we will post the entire interview that we did with her, the entire 17 minutes or so. We will post the interview with Liz Harrington, the spokesperson for the Republican National Committee, recapping the RNC. We're going to post that as a separate podcast download as well, so you can listen to the show, and then you can have a special feature, I guess, on the podcast. So no extra charge or anything. You can listen to the podcast for free, but you can listen to that. We'll have the entire interview as its own special feature on the Voice of Reason's podcast. To download that or to find it, you can find it on any podcasting website at the Voice of Reason, on Spotify, TuneIn, Apple, iTunes, doesn't matter. Which, again, didn't realize there was a difference between Apple and iTunes, but apparently there is. iHeart as well. You can find it on the iHeart podcasting. We are now on as well, I believe, the Amazon podcast, which they just started their Amazon audio or whatever it's called. The show is going to be on there as well. So we're getting that set up. All of it, you can go to HooserReason.com. Again, HooserReason.com. You can also find the podcast there, and we'll have the entire interview there for you to listen to if you'd like to listen to Liz Harrington, the spokesperson for the Republican National Committee. Where do we go from here as Republicans? We still have an election. It's still going to be torn. And my fear, which my fear is with every election, is that we get each other hyped up. We go to these political conventions. We hear the convention. We hear Trump speak. We hear the hoorah. Everybody's excited. We're posting pictures of people wearing MAGA hats or posting their Trump flag out in their yard or seeing all the people knocking on doors. And we talk to the people within the campaign, and everything sounds great. My concern, because I'm a paranoid, you know what, is that we get too much into our echo chamber where we hear it's great, we got nothing to worry about, we're going to dominate this election, baby, and then we turn around and end up not reaching enough people, or we don't hear from others that are maybe concerned, or we don't reach out to the right ones that could have been persuaded, or we do something wrong and we end up not pulling ahead and not pulling it off the way we need to. That's always my concern. Election time, I always get paranoid like that. Did we do enough? I feel confident. Honestly, I still think we're going to do a landslide victory. I think it's going to be a Donald Trump win of 47, 48 states. I think we're going to do very well. I think we're not going to have an issue or a problem whatsoever. I think we have this in the bag. We have Joe Biden that is a complete, he doesn't know what the heck he's doing right now. How you doing, Joe?
Come on, man.
I know, I'm just saying, 47 years in office and you haven't done a damn thing. I think that's going to reflect. We have a VP candidate on the other side. Kamala Harris is trying to run with it. You saw that yesterday with her making the speech about the protest. Not Joe Biden, but her. She is now the new face of the campaign. It is not Joe Biden. They're keeping him in his basement. She's going to be doing the press conferences. She's going to be doing the announcements. When they do interviews, she's sitting along with him because he can't do it by himself. So it's her we're running against, and I'm not worried about that because she was polling at 3% when she dropped out of the presidential race herself. So she doesn't have a lot of support. So I'm not too concerned. However, at the same time, you always run as if you're 10 points behind. When you're playing sports, you may be dominating that team. You may be going in as a 6A high school team going in to play a 3A high school team, but you still go in as if you're going to be beaten really bad, and you dominate until you have that comfortable lead, and then you start letting your guard down just a little bit and doing it for practice and for fun, as opposed to, we don't have that luxury in this election. We don't. We want to stomp them out. We want to win the popular vote so much that they have no way to contest it. They have no way to challenge it, and they throw a fit about it because this time they said he's not a legitimate president because he lost the popular vote by 2.5 million votes. Now, obviously, we don't live in a nation where the popular vote counts, so that means absolutely zilch zero, but they're working to change that. So this time, we need to show them that there's no games that we are playing, which means anybody that you can talk to, anybody that you want to have a conversation with, you have the political conversation at the dinner table, you have the political conversation at the family dinners, you have these tough talks, and you make them challenge them. Donald Trump's a racist. How? Explain it. He said all Mexicans are bad. No, he didn't. Look it up, because it's not true. I'm tired of playing those games. I'm tired of them just having these assumptions and playing their third grade mentality arguments based on a 120-character tweet because they think they're an expert on issues when they absolutely have no idea what they're talking about. I'm not doing it. And for us to make sure to win, we need to challenge those narratives because that's what they are, narratives, and we're not going to allow them to dominate an election with some very weak candidates that could do some very big damage in this nation. We are going to win this, but we have to do it without being just in an echo chamber and getting overconfident. We don't want to do that either. That's my pitch for the day. What do you think? Have a great weekend. Until then, be your own voice of reason. It's time for you to speak up, speak out, speak loud, speak proud, speak the truth, and always speak some reason. This is The Voice of Reason. Back at it next week. We're doing a different time again next week due to some things. We'll talk about that next week as well. Until then, everybody have a great weekend. It's The Voice of Reason. We'll see you on the radio on Monday. Hey, it's Andy Hooser with The Voice of Reason. Fighting for conservative principles seems more difficult all the time. The progressive left seems to find new and creative ways to limit freedom, abuse power, and trample the Constitution each and every day. That's why we need the knowledge, resources, and common sense to push back, and we can help with that. Visit our website at HooserReason.com. There's some really great stuff for you. You can read the latest blog discussing topical issues and current events. Let us know your thoughts by filling out our monthly survey. Keep track of what I might be doing or where I may be speaking. Listen to the podcast of your favorite guest or show, and check out our latest Voice of Reason product infomercials. Plus, you can find upcoming show schedules and guest lineups to plan your radio listening appropriately. And finally, make sure to become a Hoosier-holic by subscribing to the free newsletter. Stay up to date on the latest news of the show, fun facts of the month, and learn new ways